Attention! This entire Ultra Vegito manga, along with countless other manga stories on this channel, each with literally hundreds of thousands to millions of views, have all been hand-drawn by myself. This one skill I learned, allowing me to sketch over 50 pages of manga in a week, every week, has landed me in newspapers, TV, and with a 7-figure business that earns me over $60,000 a month from just my Patreon alone. And now, I'm finally gonna teach and show every single one of you the simple methods and never before seen techniques I use to draw all of these so extremely fast and easily on my new website at www.makemanga.com. I know all of you fans here have imaginations just as good as mine. Stories you wish you could tell, what-if battles, and Dragon Ball tales that you have in your head, but no way to put them down on paper, and no means to pay an artist thousands of dollars for each chapter. But now, you can learn directly from me the easiest and fastest way, and for a shockingly low price. This price will only be available for a limited time and then will triple to its true value. This is my introductory offer, so head down to the link below in the description or pinned comment to enroll now before it's too late. And of course, don't forget, the next part to today's Ultra Vegito episode is also available now early on my Patreon, which is down in the links below too. Enjoy. So our story continues with Vegito, now in his all-new bulked up form, having just absorbed whole the legendary Broly, his body several proportions larger and taller, as his entire being is surrounded in a powerful aura, complete with black lightning, as Vegito himself remains seemingly silent. Before looking down at the palm of his hands, albeit with missing pupils, and commenting, "So, this is what your power felt like, huh, Broly? How ridiculous. I feel like a monster. But the question is, does the power match up to the feeling?" Before moving his hand down and ducking his head with a devious expression and continuing, "Well, I know just the move to determine that. I wonder how it feels too." And suddenly, out of nowhere, testing the abilities and techniques of the newly assimilated Broly, Vegito would then blast out of his mouth a gigantic breath of his own, purple in color instead of green, as the massive energy wave shoots straight out, traveling at light speed far off into the distance, eventually reaching behind a mountain range of icy structures. And for a moment, as it makes impact, there is a brief silence before, in a gigantic explosion of indescribable impacting sound, the entire range of ice mountains is erased in an instant, all before the unflinching Vegito, who once we zoom in on him, not only does he stand smirking at an impressed look, but smoke bellows out of his burning hot mouth as he comments, "A little bit of a sore throat, but I could get used to that." Before, just as fast as he shot out his beam, Vegito would then revert back to his normal recognizable form. Smoke coming from his lips as he carries on, "Powerful too, it seems. Don't even need to power it up before release. What a move, Broly. I'll be sure to honor your legacy by making use of that as much as I can." Eventually, then silencing the laughter as he would stand pondering what his next move should be now. Will it be to take on Zeno, find the 4th and 5th, or something else? As he would then swiftly turn around, looking towards the blank sky. And inside his head, once zoomed in, he would just think, now what? Every god of destruction, every single one of my family's killers, now is finally dead. Revenge may be mine, but until they're brought back, my mission does not end. As soon, the scene would then pan out deep into the sky, as if his next target would be out there. But it wouldn't be in there that our story would actually then shift, as back with true demon Jiren, his fight would be continuing, as standing there before him with his back turned to us would be Makoto, now fully transformed into his mysterious blood demon state, as he looks calmly on at the former Pride Trooper and lets out, well, I don't suppose 2 demons will be allowed to battle here in the mortal realm for too long. The 5th is most likely already on his way. And couple that with the fact I haven't got long like this either. And it means your death will be quick, Jiren the Grey! Instantly switching mid-sentence like a schizophrenic into a monstrous yell would be the blood demon, now with his ghastly teeth on show and his oversized tongue shooting outwards.
Come forward, warrior!
Before in a violent rage, as if forcefully commanding Jiren forward, Makoto would then slam both his feet down, destroying the ground below and shaking the very core of the planet they are on, while sending shockwaves for miles ahead.
Allow me to show you a true demon!
Suddenly morphing further and further from humanoid in appearance to more and more like a monster, as he screams louder and louder. But meanwhile, watching on, totally unworried, or seemingly affected in the slightest, a covered in black lightning Jiren would just stoically respond, disgusting. If looking like you is the fate left for me for using this so-called demon power, then you may have finally just given me one good reason to reject it. But I will finish you first before deciding anything! Suddenly then rushing in at full speed towards Makoto with his hands bared open like a beast. All the while, the tailed blood demon would just await his prey like a Venus flytrap. But even as Jiren would reach within inches of the demon and ready to brutally slam his fist into him, Makoto would just remain unmoving until... Far too slow! As at the very last second, the blood demon would move back, making Jiren miss in time. But his counter would be the most shocking of all. As suddenly, despite Makoto moving back, at the very same time, would then plunge one of his 4 fleshy tails at breakneck speed straight into the side of Jiren, penetrating him instantly.
What was that?
Leaving Jiren to just gasp in pain as a river of blood burst out of not only his wound, but his mouth also. As Makoto, pleased with himself, would just callously then remove his tail, leaking blood as it escapes before continuing. Now, Jiren. I know this is probably your first time fighting a real demon, but you should know, you have a lot more to be aware of than just simple arms and legs with us. Before his point is proven cleanly with Makoto, then using the same tail to slam Jiren's chin hard, knocking the God Killer's head back violently. So hard, in fact, Jiren is then sent flying off into the distance as if the tail were an oversized arm, causing Jiren's body to launch into a spin across the ground as his torso forcefully rolls and rolls across until reaching a silent stop in the field, with his face flat on the ground. It would almost seem, with just that one attack alone, Makoto had knocked out the God Killer. But walking over, not convinced in the slightest, would be the grotesque monster that is now the fourth, as he gets closer and closer and comments sadistically, "Come on now! Is that all it takes? Why even pretend? We both know you are capable of far more than just this. Get up and give me one last real challenge. I still have just enough time before the power of Lucifer overwhelms me." And proving Makoto's point, almost as if having heard him, Jiren would then be seen getting up just barely, trembling as he does so on his knees and elbows as blood from his wound would begin to seep out. Until finally, with his mouth gasping for air, he would look up and let out, "The speed of that attack and the force, it cut through my body like it was nothing. Its edge is even sharper than his katana. If he had aimed for my vital spots on either of those attacks, I'd be dead already. Why? Why did he spare me?" And as he uses every bit of his remaining strength to push through the pain, Jiren would then get up onto one knee, on the verge of pushing himself up as his crimson blood would now congregate in a puddle on the floor. But this weakened state would only be short-lived before...
You regret that!
In a demonic roar of his own, Jiren the Grey would then push through the adversity and agony, and power his aura to an all-new high as he screams to his heart's content. Yes, young Jiren, that is more like it. Show me how much more you can tap into the great Lucifer's power! And in response, Jiren, as if one step ahead, would already be rushing in with conviction, straightforward yet again, despite what had happened earlier. And in a show of true dominance, Makoto would remain with his arms folded, but with his four bloody tails moving around as if with minds of their own, goading Jiren's arrival as he gets closer and closer. But as Jiren moves forward, he would think to himself, "If you believe I will fall for the same tricks more than once, then you have severely underestimated me, old warrior." And just as the fourth would attack, once more with insane speed with one of his fleshy tails, Jiren, with impressive foresight, would quickly dodge perfectly, so fluidly and precisely as if making use of his ultra instinct, that after images would be left behind until ultimately... Jiren would reach this time to the fourth, and land a devastating punch that would strike directly onto the cheek and already closed left eye of Makoto. But alarmingly, not only would the Blood Angel remain still with his arms folded, but with a crazed grin as he looks on at Jiren's fist as if not fazed in the slightest, commenting,
"Oh wow, seems I gave you a little too much credit, Jiren. You don't know how to use that power of yours at all. I knew I should have gone for Vegito instead. Maybe I'd actually feel his attacks."
These attacks angering the former destroyer, who simply cannot believe at this point that his attacks are not working at all, as he thinks,
"My punch did nothing? Ludicrous. This darkness flowing through me. This kind of energy should be felt by anything and anyone. There is no way Son Goku could be as strong as this. This must be some form of trickery."
Leading to Jiren then quickly cocking back his fist to try again, yelling out,
"Whatever your lies, justice will be served!"
Launching violently with increased speed and frequency into a barrage of punches that all strike on the fourth. Just perhaps not on the target he wished for, as if being protected by his own guards, Makoto would then be unmoved as each of his four tails would whip back and forth, defending against every one of Jiren's fists. Leading to the Blood Demon with his tongue out to goad.
"Having fun there, Jiren? When may I join in too?" "Right about now!"
As suddenly, Jiren would then prove his worth once more and finally strike Makoto through his tail defense, sending the off-balance fourth moving sideways. As Jiren would then yell out,
"Do not underestimate me!"
Leaving the Blood Demon to then step back with his arms no longer folded as he begins to remember the threat that Jiren poses. With Jiren looking at him coldly and commenting, "When will you finish with your poor attempts at insulting me? I left you for dead once, and if you continue like this, it will only happen again. Fight with your all. Show me you have even a shred of honor." But the devilish one-eyed creature would just laugh at first, before replying, "You're right. I should take you more seriously. But as the old adage goes, be careful what you wish for, young man. This may be over in a flash." Leaving a confused Jiren to wonder what those words could possibly mean, as he cautiously watches for any kind of movement from the relaxed appearing Blood Demon until... Suddenly, a sonic frequency is heard as something speeds towards Jiren at incomparable speed.
"Hello!"
As suddenly, as if having used instant transmission, Makoto would immediately appear right behind Jiren, his tails slathering on the totally unsuspecting Godkiller, as just out of the corner of his eyes, he would realize thinking,
"No! His speed! It's jumped again!"
But mid-thought, Makoto would turn his body around, whipping his tails directly onto the back of Jiren, sending him forward.
"You asked for my all, didn't you?
as Makoto would then straight after this lift his arm up into the air, flexed, ready to chop down, as the pain-stricken Jiren would still appear struggling to recover.
I'd move if I were you, Jiren! I won't be letting you live with this slice!
And as the blood demon would swipe his arm with ferocity, Jiren would do just that, possibly to the surprise of Makoto as he vanishes and then suddenly appears far off into the distance and curiously high in the sky, with even Makoto remarking,
"You didn't need to move that far. What are you doing? Thinking you can run away?"
But Jiren, high above, would look far from on the run. His eyes focus deeply on Makoto as he lets out,
"From what you say, it seems now that I've gone down this path, I couldn't run from my destiny even if I wanted to. My only solace is removing pests like you from my trail." "Very true, Jiren, but I'm not sure about getting rid of us pests. How exactly do you plan on doing that while so outclassed?" "By destroying you along with this planet!" As suddenly spreading his palm wide to the ground and aimed directly at Makoto, a strange and unfamiliar ball of dark energy begins to form in Jiren's hand, soon increasing in size to even rival Jiren's body as pressure and wind from just its generation reaches all the way down to the blood demon, who comments, "Well, I'll be. Seems he's tapping into even more demon energy with that attack. His body truly has a talent for handling Lucid's power. Perfect." "I see you still choose to challenge my attacks head on. Very well, warrior. Underestimate me at your own risk." As the stoic Jiren would look down, unimpressed that Makoto would still refuse to acknowledge his power, while the crazed blood demon would just invite the attack, yelling, "Don't worry! I have not underestimated you at all! I just know that you still have a long way to go before challenging me! Bring it on!" And just like that, Jiren in response would scream with ferocity, as his giant ball of demonic energy that now resembles a spirit bomb shoots down directly towards the still standing Makoto, who has all four of his tails flared up as if ready to catch. If this is what you thought would be my end, then you're stupider than I thought! But in reality, instead of catching, Makoto would quickly opt to bring all four of his blood-made tails forward in front of him, each touching at the tip, creating a makeshift shield. And to perhaps no surprise, it would work seemingly perfectly, as instantly, Jiren's attack would begin grinding against the tails of Makoto, stopped in its tracks as the surface of the planet begins to wipe off to completion from the power being emitted. What? But soon enough, as we look closer, things may not be going as swimmingly as previously thought, as Jiren's dark ball would find itself reaching nearer and nearer to the blood demon's face, as the strength of its pushback becomes too much for the fourth's tails. But it seems, in this new monstrous form, monstrous techniques exist too,
as in Broly-like fashion, a bright red ball of energy would suddenly appear, being created within his mouth before... Like a sniper, Makoto would then fire his beam of energy, which astonishingly does not just push back Jiren's, but is also so powerful it shoots right through the beam and reaches Jiren within an instant, with the aftermath being a truly gigantic explosion mid-air that would coat both warriors as collateral damage, with each in view as just a cloud of smoke before... Both finally would be revealed once more, dirtier than ever, both with some damage, but each with rage in their eyes, as Jiren comments,
You've proven yourself worthy of your name, Fourth. But I cannot die here. Not yet. Son Goku would never forgive me in the afterlife. So optimistic of you to believe you'll have an afterlife! Little do you know, those branded as demons have a fate far worse than death awaiting them. It is why I hid myself for all these years in the mortal realm, containing this power that cannot be controlled out here. Now my time is running short. You will be my ticket to remaining here, Jiren the Grey! But just as Makoto would begin yelling out a nonsensical speech, a sharp pain would afflict his body as blood is forced out from his internal organs. Looking down injured and weakened already, he would think, "Damn it! I'm reaching my limit! Lucid's energy will overcome me, and if that happens, all hell will be let loose. I'd be erased by the fifth or the priest instantly. I have to do it now!" But seeing his opportunity, on the patter of Makoto's blood onto the ground, Jiren would already have launched straight forward at Makoto, ready to capitalize. As internally, mid-flight, he would cautiously think, "This could be another trick, but either way, I cannot let this chance go." And it would seem that this was no trick at all, as with his defenses low, Jiren would land a backhand right on the torso of Makoto, sending the demon flying back initially before... Lucky hit! He would soon dig his heels and tails into the ground and stop himself from moving back any further. But this would be nothing to Jiren, as he would just strafe forward to attack once more. Come then! Even like this, you're still nothing but a runt! Though Makoto would be preparing himself, his own fist tightened as he beckons the God Killer. Come to me, my vessel! As suddenly the fourth would unleash and open all 8 of his limbs, accepting in Jiren's attack, while interestingly referring to him by a strange name. And just like that, the two would meet eye to eye. But for some reason, it only seems like Jiren is prepared to actually attack, while a massive demonic grin only seems to appear on Makoto's face. And so Jiren would once again make contact, his attack strong, and while Makoto is clearly a shell of himself, it would damage him far more than any previous attack. As with his cheek caved in and liquid splattering from his mouth, the blood demon would remain unusually silent. This all ends here, warrior! While Jiren,
now coating his final fist in a powerfully concentrated fiery aura, would attempt to combo into one more battle-ending assault. But as he attacks, Jiren's punch is surprisingly grabbed by the fourth's palm, leaving Jiren to stare annoyed and comment, "Seems you have even more to give after all." Too little too late, however. This battle ends now! As quickly, an angered Makoto would then grab onto Jiren's next punch as well, struggling as he holds on yelling, "You're right! This battle does end here! But not the way you're hoping, God Killer! Give up!" But these tough words from the weakened blood demon would prove fruitless, as the oversized, bulky Jiren would quickly begin overpowering the fourth, pushing him back effortlessly. "Fine, I give up. You win this battle." But in a shocking turn, Makoto would seemingly then concede, loosening his grip as he allows Jiren to overpower him. But unbeknownst to Jiren, behind Makoto, those hidden tails would begin plotting something of their own. "But I win the war!" As unbelievably, Makoto's four tails would then do the unthinkable, stabbing straight through the demon's own body and through the gut of the unsuspecting Jiren also. All in an instant, and so fast, Jiren hardly has a chance to even let go of Makoto's palms. His internal organs now completely ruptured, the God Killer is left without words, only able to cough up a splash of blood that splatters all over the face of Makoto. Delicious! But in a disgusting scene, Makoto would proceed to instantly use his oversized tongue to then lick off the traces of his foe's blood, before pulling his tongue away and yelling, "I thought I told you! Keep your eyes on more than just my arms and legs! I guess it's too late to learn now!" But despite the laughs, the horrifying result on Jiren's end would be his lifeless eyes, now blurring in and out of consciousness, just looking on as he silently mutters, You stabbed yourself? How do you not die?" "Because there's always so much life around me!" As suddenly, out of nowhere, Makoto's body would explode into a wave of blood itself, and suddenly shoot straight into the wound and body of Jiren. All done so fast, it would almost appear as if Makoto had just vanished. "You?" The aftermath being a shocked Jiren, with a red face having been slathered in the point-blank explosion of blood, before revealing his lone confused self alone on the battlefield, now that his enemy had, at least to him, completely disappeared. But Makoto's disappearance would be the last of Jiren's concerns in the end, as in a devastating view, a gaping hole in the middle of Jiren's stomach would then be shown. And as more of his life force bleeds out, a trembling Jiren would try his best to stand up straight in silence until... "Son Goku, I failed." Ultimately, the damage would prove far too great, and Jiren would abruptly then fall to what is presumably his untimely death. That is until, of course, some way, somehow, not even moments later, Jiren would find some strength within once again, slowly crawling up, as his head would then begin to rise with closed eyes and silence until...
Finally, a body fit for a demon.
Jiren would awaken, revealing now the same red seraphim eyes as Makoto once had, as the noticeably more dastardly looking Jiren looks to his hands as if never having seen them before and comments,
I told you I would get you, my dear vessel. Jiren the Great. Your body will allow my powers to grow even further. A body to truly handle the power of Lucif. I will finally be able to use my blood demon form without fear of death. But if you are only the weaker of the two god killers, then I simply must see for myself just how powerful the other one is. His body may be an even greater vessel than yours. Just the body I need to take down Z and prove to Master Dai that he was always wrong about me! Vegito! As without a word more, in pure excitement, the fourth, now within the body of Jiren, would then blast off into the sky in search of his next victim, with only one certain god killer on his mind. But talking of the god killer, back with Vegito, he would remain standing still, staring at the sky, thinking briefly, before I go and find the fourth, I better recover some energy. I haven't eaten in ages. I don't even know how I do it. Before finally, a smile would crack on Vegito's face as he thinks fondly of his late wife and says, You know, I never really appreciated her cooking back when I was home. But man, I miss Chi-Chi's meals. I bet one of those would get me back to full strength. Soon, my love. And instantly, with his daydream over, Vegito, just like Jiren, would then shoot into the sky. And soon, as we look on at the vast expanse of space, Vegito would be seen flying through at warp speed, eagerly trying to find a suitable planet to land and eat. And as he zooms through, still smiling, he would say, This speed, how mind-boggling! Broly's power is truly one of the best additions I ever made. I feel as strong now in base as I would have in blue. Maybe the rest of the 5 won't be needed after all. But just as he would begin gaining confidence, a new presence would be felt right near him, and one that just cannot be ignored as he comments, What? What is that I'm sensing? Did the fourth of the 5 strongest find me already? Not quite, monkey. But as Vegito would wonder, a strange but familiar voice would answer for him, leading to Vegito quickly turning around yelling, Monkey? Who the hell? What? But as he does so, only shock would await him, as unbelievably behind him, a massive spaceship would meet his gaze, and one with a very iconic design that could only belong to one family of creatures. And unsurprisingly, out of the ship's opening window, none other than Frieza would come out, sitting in his chair in his final form already, with a typical devious smirk. And as Frieza would soon reach in front of Vegito, he would say, I may not be the fourth,
but I may be just as much as a challenge for the likes of you two monkeys. Or should I say, 3.
Frieza! You survived too?
But for the God Killer, just the very sight of seeing the former Emperor of the Universe would be enough to freeze him in shock, as thoughts from his far-gone past suddenly rushed through him. But it would quickly switch to annoyance, as Vegito would let out,
"Now what the hell are you doing here? Didn't you learn your lesson enough last time? If you're up to no good, you picked the wrong time to run into me."
But this would just bring on a perhaps nervous laughter, as Frieza would just say, "What a warm welcome for a dear friend. I see even 10 years has no effect on educating you silly monkeys on common courtesy." Before then jumping out to meet Vegito face to face, and with his arms folded would then say, "Well, I'm here as I have been watching you, and I have been waiting for your eventual arrival to this godforsaken universe. You approached me once in the afterlife with a proposal that could benefit me, which it has, but now I have a proposal of equal value to you." But Vegito, seemingly already dismissing the Emperor, would just respond,
"Look, Frieza, maybe 10 years ago, something you had to offer me would have been on my radar. But I've got bigger things to worry about now. Far bigger fish. So for now, take your proposal and shove it up your... Wait!"
But suddenly, Frieza's look would change almost entirely, as with a cunning peer, he would continue, "You should really learn to hear someone out before making a decision, monkey." As suddenly, Frieza would finally, for the first time in the Ultra Vegito series, showcase his new Black Frieza form. His power now at an unreal level, having first been achieved 10 years ago from just a couple weeks of training. And now, after a decade, just what has the Frost Demon achieved?
What? Frieza! That energy! How?
And judging by the God Killer's reaction, it may be an achievement that shocks everyone. But that was it for today's video, guys, and if you made it this far, leave me a hashtag black in the comments down below and let me know just what proposal Frieza could possibly have, or just find out what happens next right now on my Patreon, where you can see the full next video, fully voice acted, soundtracked and edited for you to enjoy, with over 4,300 plus other fans, as well as getting access to 250 plus other fan mangas too. It's the deal of the century.